way. God's love never strayed from the day to day. So I pray, keep the faith and praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, save me, Lord. It takes a little every day to go a long way. God's love never strayed from the day to day. So I pray, keep the faith and praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, save me, Lord. It's the things you believe in that keep you striving. Yo, I'm aiming for the top, so I keep on climbing, surviving, rising like the sun in the east. If the Lord be the light, let him shine through.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode edition of the Quad Squad, where the Bible meets current events. So I'm here this morning joined by Stacy. I'm joined with Sean. And for sitting in for Ivan, we have Talisa Brown, and our special guest, back by popular demand, all the way from Huntsville, Alabama. We got Jeff the Giant Johnson in the house.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Happy New Year! That's the last y'all saw me.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. It's I see something here. Back, we give a tribute to Sesame Street. It's like one of these things just doesn't belong here, but we have four of these things that look the same. Can somebody tell me what it is?
We're talking about shade. I know four of us are about the same shade, and then one of us don't belong.
Ooh, Stacy. Okay, Jeff. What'd you say? I saw your hand.
All I want to say is, speaking dog, we'll holler.
You brought him on.
So anyway, good morning, everyone. Ooh, Stacy, boy, you got some. You got them switchblades.
Yeah.
I was ready for you, Dan.
As always.
On. Could you send a memo? Hey, Ivan, could y'all send?
See, I didn't get a memo. I was just running out of ideas, and so I just grabbed because it was the first.
Grab and go.
I only wore my shirt, so I only wore my shirt because maybe I could get on more often. Maybe. This is a plug. Plug
it up. So I'm so glad we're here. I'm actually in Huntsville as well. Was at the late great T. Marshall Kelly, his funeral. He was near and dear to my family, and which he's near and dear to a lot of people as well. It was like an alumni before. It's like the alumni before the alumni. If you don't want to go to the alumni at Oakwood University, you should have came to the funeral. But anyway. Sean, isn't this your special year or something like that?
Yes, this alumni year, 2023, my class is celebrating our 25th reunion, 25 years, class of 1998. Man, time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, look at that. Ivan is giving a shout out. He said, hello, everybody. He missed us. Ivan did an excellent job yesterday giving a tribute for his class.
Did he finish? Because he was going for it. And never.
Jeff said, is he still up there talking?
Is he still up there?
Let's go to Oakland.
Of all the people, but anyway.
Is Deb still standing next to him?
Yeah, right. Hey, Jeff, you were in his class, or you went to the same school with him, so it's all good.
And that's why we loved it, because we knew he wasn't going to stop until he was finished.
He did an excellent job. I'm proud of him.
Yes, he did.
I did an excellent
job. He always does an excellent job.
So anyway, see who's supposed to give a shout out to our online viewers and friends. Sean, that's you.
You sure? Hey. I want to welcome all our online viewers and friends. Eric Peters, good to see you. Connie Smith, my wife, always happy to see you. Miss Brown, Vaughn Reed, good to. I saw Arnell jumping up and down over there. Bonnie Thompson, Angela, one of the first people. Vanetta Cuffey, Rebecca. Why don't you peek your head in, Rebecca, so we can see you? I know you're just out in the of the camera shot just a little bit.
That's Rebecca from the Bible.
Yeah.
Rebecca from the Bible.
That's Rebecca, Dan's wife. But listen, we want to welcome everybody. And listen, I'm going to try a little reverse psychology today. Listen, I repeat, do not subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do not go to the Quad Squad channel and like us. Do not do that. We want to stay at only 50 subscribers. So don't come to our YouTube channel. Don't like us. But if you want one of these beautiful t-shirts, right? If you want a mug, if you want a bookmark, please email us at quadsquad249@gmail.com. Put that in the chat, Stacy. Quadsquad249@gmail.com. Yeah, that's all I've got today.
All right.
Stacy, it's your turn now.
What? No, what? We're done. Right.
Her name's Stacy or No Shirt? Call her No Shirt today.
You know what, Jeff? Really? I bet you don't have a cup. I bet you don't have a mug. I bet you don't have no bookmarks. Oh my goodness.
I'll show you what I do have that we made. Golf clubs for Quad Squad. Quad Squad Golf Club. We did. Quad Squad Golf Club. That's right. That's we have. You don't have that.
I need some right-handed ones then, okay? But yeah, you guys know what to do. Join in the discussion. Throw your comments in the chat. We welcome you from all over, wherever you are. Like I said, some are in England, some are in Canada, some are over here with us.
Bermuda, Sherry Hill.
Bermuda.
She's not in Bermuda. She's in Maryland. That's my mother. She's in Maryland.
Isn't she from Bermuda, Sean?
She was born in New York.
Oh, wow. Well, hey, Miss Sherry. We're going to try to help your son out this morning.
We love you.
You know, I saw Eric Peters yesterday. He was on point. So give a shout out to Eric. You know, special shout out. He is the youth director in one of them conferences. Eric, put that conference that you're the youth director in. I think it's Allegheny East. West. Okay. All right.
Miss Francis.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Arnell said, I need a squad golf club.
Me too. Me too. And clearly a shirt. Anyway.
Hey, there's Kenny Scoop Anderson. Saw him yesterday too. He gave a shout out to the squad. At the big banquet repast. And he said, how do you all watch the squad? New hands went up.
Ivan and Dan's hands.
Me and Ivan. And so we're at the table. And then Kenny said, you guys gotta watch the Quad Squad. It's the happening thing. And so then he called us at the repast to give a shout out and talk about the Quad Squad. We were like, oh my goodness.
You made it to the top.
Thank you for that opportunity. And the Quad Squad is catching on. Somebody, there was a pastor. I had my mask on and said, hey, ain't you on the Quad Squad? I was like, what? I was like, yep. So he was
No, you didn't, Dan. No, you didn't. You just gloat. You said, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
But anyway, we are so happy that you guys are tuning in, spreading the word. And Sean, we have over 90 subscribers now.
90.
There we go. Allegheny West. That's right. Allegheny West.
Did you see what the lady wrote? She said, do we get a shirt discount if we mention Jeff's name? Yes, you do.
No.
That's not the lady. Her name is Maureen. And because...
You have to mention Jesus' name. You mentioned
Jesus. Right.
And then put Jeffy right after. Yes. Yes, you do. And a golf shirt. Okay.
I got to get ready this morning, Teresa. Mercy.
Anyway,
Teresa, you and I have got to be strong this morning. Okay.
Well, the comments are coming in fast and furious. Wow, we got a lot of comments. So anyway, we're going to jump into it. Unto the least of these, it's talking about situational wealth.
We're going to tell them what it's talking about.
Sean, when I ask you to moderate, you say no. So I'm moderating. So you sit back and enjoy the ride.
Me to not be between these. Can I be down on the bottom square?
No. We're good down here. We're good.
No.
Okay.
Sit back, kick it, and enjoy the ride, Sean.
Okay, all right.
So anyway, situational wealth. Is it a real thing, or is it something that we can talk about, get into? Because we're gonna see who are the least of these. So without further ado, Sean, could you read Matthew? Oh yes, you guys got your Bibles ready, because everybody whose name is on the script gonna be reading. So Sean, could you read Matthew 25, 40, and 41?
All right, then Stacy, you're right after me. So everybody get
Michael,
ready.
when do you come back? I can't. I'm between the two Smiths. Okay, go ahead, y'all.
Let's go. Everybody, Sister Brown put the verse in the chat. Here we go. Matthew 25. We're starting in verse 40, and I'm reading verse 40 and 41. The king will reply.
Correct.
You ready? The king will reply. Truly, I tell you, whatever you do for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Then he will say to those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels.
Stacy, Matthew 25, verses 42 and 43.
Okay. Matthew 25, 42 and 43. This is from the New King James Version, Jeff. It says, for I was hungry and you gave me food. You gave me no food. No food. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger and you did not take me in. Naked and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison and you did not visit me.
Jeff, you have your Bible ready?
Who?
So, Jeff, okay,
Yeah.
you got your phone. Jeff, read Matthew 25, 44.
I don't have my Bible with me. Y'all better go ahead on. Just ask my question that I'm supposed to answer.
Okay, Teresa, you read those two verses.
Read
44,
Okay, starting at what verse?
At 25, 44, and 45.
Okay. They also will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or needing clothes, or sick in prison, and did not help you? He will reply, I tell you the truth, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me.
Okay, so this is our part one. Who are the least of us? Who are the least of us? So, Sean, I'm coming to you. Who are the least of us, and do we still look down at the poor? I mean, we still look down at the poor. In Psalms 82, 3 and 4. Could you read that? Do you have that available?
No, that wasn't a part of my reading list, but I can go to that. Psalm 82, 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, here we go. What does it say? It says, defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed, rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked.
Okay, so the first part of your question is, who are the least of us?
Who are the least of us? You can describe them as, and sometimes the Bible describes them as the widow, the poor, the fatherless. That's one description that's given to the least of us. But from my personal perspective, when I think about the least of us, it reminds me of when I was in grade school. We used to have those math problems, and it used to say which one is greater, which one is greater to the left or to the right. And so essentially, the least of us can be described as anyone who you think of as least than you, anyone who you are tempted to think of as least from you. So for us who I just take it personally, sometimes we think of, or maybe I think of Republicans as least of us, right?
Mm.
Or if I was to be more specific, I may say that Trump supporters are the least of us, because I may look down on them. or being in this particular denomination, I may say those who are not Seventh-day Adventists or who do not worship on the Sabbath are the least of us. But, you know, I was born in Bermuda, and we're very proud in Bermuda. So sometimes you may say anybody that's not from Bermuda, anyone who's not from this country is the least of us. And also, you know, watching the celebration services yesterday, thinking about going to Oakwood University, you know, I can say that people who did not attend Oakwood University are the least of us, or people who didn't graduate from my great high school of Pine Forge Academy are the least of us. So it's anybody that you are tempted to look down on, anybody that you're tempted to think is not as good as you. That, I think, is what God is calling us to love. I think those are the people that God is calling us to help out. Those are the people that God is calling us to assist.
So, you know, that sounds like that's looking down at people. And you know, so it's like the poor. We have a tendency to look down at the poor. So it seems like that's more than just the poor. It's like a lot of people. That's kind of a prideful and selfish nation. Jeff, I see your hand.
I'm going to give us an example right here, and everyone will understand when we said the least of us. It's four of us with shirts on. This one young lady in the middle. This is example. She's the least of us because she doesn't have what we have. I'm just saying, look at the example, and that's what we're talking about. She looked like she's the least of us because she doesn't have a shirt.
Yeah,
so this is where we are.
So you know what I'm going to do?
Sean?
I'm gonna give you my shirt, Stacy. Look in the mail in the morning. You'll have my shirt. That's what God is wanting us to do.
Just a little talk with Jesus makes it right.
Praise the Lord. But anyway, what does, you know, defending the fatherless that you read in Psalms, Sean? What does that look like? The fatherless and the needy? Because it seems like when you're looking down on somebody that you may not feel like defending them.
You gotta stick up for people. You know, listen, we you know how we are on a certain day after church, we get around the table, right? And we may start talking about somebody who's not at the table, right? Then defending.
I don't do that.
Right. Of course you don't do that. So then it's our job to stick up for them. We have to defend them. We have to be their voice. You know, when others are talking against them, we talk for them or on their behalf. We assist them. We help them. We don't stay silent when things are said or just say, You know, like, no, that's not right. I know that person. That person's a good person, or those individuals are good people, or, you know, the people from that island are respectable people. So, you know, we've got to stand up for them and stick up for them.
You know, and I guess, you know, not talking to you a lot because you're, you know, an attorney and you were a defense attorney as well. And I'm sure there were people you were like, dang, I don't want to defend this person. This person is guilty of sin, you know, and, you know, or they just was a certain way that you had a tendency being from Bermuda that you just said that you look down at people. So you probably was looking down like, I don't want to defend them, but because of your background, because of your Christianity,
because of Jesus who died for me.
You defend.
Yes.
So Stacy, what does being poor, you know, really mean? And is it a sin to be poor, Stacy?
You know, this whole conversation, I'm hoping, is going to soon become politically correct. But since we're doing a study, Jeff, I really want to say that really, although sometimes it may feel like a sin to be poor, it is not a sin to be poor. And really, when we think of, you know, riches, we think of wealth and we think of poverty, right? We think of the rich, we think of the poor. And the Bible even talks about that. But the Lord told us that we would always have the poor among us. But, you know, we have to remain humble and grounded because sometimes the tables may turn on a situation. And, there's a song out there that says it could have been me. And so when I think about the poor, I really, yes, we want to help those who were in need, underserved, not that don't have enough to provide for themselves. But I will tell you that I have been in homes of people who we would consider poor, and their homes were rich with love, rich with the Spirit. They had, they were taught respect and morality, and they were fine human beings. And eventually, even out of that, some, came from poverty and went to college. I mean, when we think of Dr. Barry C. Black and his book, From the Hood to the Hill, and there are others. I'm just saying that while we have this conversation, I'd like us to, and I love what, at first I was like, Sean, but I love what he did, because that is our purview. But I'd like us to really remember, that could be us. And there's a purpose to helping those that are in need.
I think he wants to go to Jeff or Teresa. So ladies first, go Teresa.
Go ahead, Teresa.
So while we were talking, I thought to myself, how do we define poor, right? Because a lot of times when we're talking about help the poor and the rich or the needy, I think we think about those that are like on the side of the street. A lot of times, like those that are homeless. Can you be poor and not homeless? Because I was thinking to myself, a lot of us are one lost job away from being out on the street. So it's like when we talk about stored up riches, if I'm maintaining a roof over my head, but I don't have nothing in the bank, am I poor or not? So I kind of think about the humility of helping the poor, because as Stacey mentioned, tables can turn really quickly, and anyone, especially depending on what choices we may make or what things may happen in our life, may end up being one of the needy or being one of the poor. It was just a thought that came to my mind.
All right.
I like it.
Yes. Sean, I wanted to just when we were talking about the least of us, the greatest example that I have for the least of us was Elder Kelly. He never, ever judged anyone. So the least of anybody, you'll never know it from Elder Kelly, and his witness and his example of his life, that he treated everyone, no matter what you was. Elder Kelly always had a sense of understanding of who you was as a person. So the least of you never exists. And that's how we need to actually live our lives amongst anyone. And you made a beautiful example when you said that the Trump supporters, they actually think that everyone is the least of them that deal with this man. So that was a good one. But Elder Kelly, he lived his life as the least of everyone, that he made no judgment on anyone.
And if I could piggyback off of Jeff, I was talking with my dad last night, and we were talking about Elder T. Marshall Kelly, because, when I was younger and as a kid and driving around with him or on road trips, I would always be hearing sermons from Henry Wright, from Cleveland, Brooks, Bradford back in the day, and these beautiful songs from T. Marshall Kelly. And he was saying that when he got
somebody asked, who is Elder Kelly?
Oh, Elder T. Marshall. Well, you're going to explain soon, Dan. But when he got a chance to meet him in person, he was so impressed by his humility. He was approachable, even though he was world renowned, or maybe there's a person who will need to learn more about him. But even though he was known, approaching him, he was still very humble.
So Teresa.
Dan, do you want to explain who Pastor?
Yeah, T. Marshall Kelly is a world-renowned singer, pastor, not in the Seventh-day Adventist faith. And I would say if you can Google him, he's sang a lot of he's sang all over the world. He has a lot of recordings, but he's known to be very humble, known to be a very humble person. And if I would say, just listen to his music. I have something at the end, depending on how our internet connection is. I'll play something from T. Marshall Kelly, but he was my pastor from Detroit, and he's very, very humble.
Mm-hmm. And a teacher at Oakwood University.
An example of, someone say he was a person that walked with God. Yes, Eric Peter says he was the epitome of Christ-likeness. So Teresa, you guys with me?
Yep.
Yes.
In Exodus 23. Am I here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Speak fast.
Yeah.
Speak fast.
Okay.
I'll finish up.
23, 10, and 11. God called the people of Israel to make provisions to the poor. What can we do to assist in helping them now?
Okay, so for those of you, I'm just going to repeat the question. So, the Lord asked us to make provisions for the needy. So what can we do to help them now? One thing that came to mind was a lot of training and preparation. So a lot of times when we want to do evangelism or go out into communities, we kind of ask people right then and there, who wants to come? But a lot of people are apprehensive and a little hesitant because they don't know how to work with that population. They don't know how to assist and actually help. You have some people that just know, and they have that, that gift of helping and serving. But then you have others who may want to assist, but they don't know how. One, with managing our money, that's very important, because just like how we budget for vacations and we budget for the church building fund, maybe we need a budget for the poor and the needy as well. What can we do financially to prepare for helping out the needy? What training is necessary? What are the laws in our communities when it comes to helping out the poor and needy? Because we want people to go out there, but we don't want anybody, breaking the law either. So what training do we give our people so that they can feel confident with going out into the community? What things do they need to be aware of when working with that community? What things, can we do creatively to help out? So I feel like there needs to be some more conversation, some more planning and training for just the masses, so that when we say, hey, everybody, let's go, we can go out there confidently and prepared.
Love it.
Just real quickly, there was a certain inspired writer who said specifically what you said, and that every week when they come to church, there should be a portion that's given specifically for the poor and needy. And this particular writer advised us to get particular managers to advise over that fund for the poor and needy. So
good. Just want to say special hello, to Pastor Olinto Bros, who sponsors our show and also took us on a field trip over to Maranatha last week and had a great time. Hello, Pastor Gross. And I see that Ivan is helping to explain who Pastor Kelly was, and Sister Francis is letting us know how he touched her life. All right, very nice. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Sean. And so, Teresa, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead until we have.
No, you're fine. I mean, sometimes we may have a heart to go out and do good, but you don't know what dangers might be, ahead. I remember one time a friend and I wanted to put together bags and just go out to the park and start handing out these bags. And, by the grace of God, this was a few years ago, so no one really approached us or said anything. But like at the end of our little, ministry adventure, a nice officer came over and said, hey, you can't do this next time. And he explained why and what could have happened had maybe somebody else been watching us. So I was just saying, training. We need preparations. We need to know what we are able to do and how to do it.
All right. And so go ahead, Jeff. I see your hand, and then we're going to look at Milka Skeet's question.
Okay. Two things about the poor. Some poor folk are very proud, and they don't even want you to know that they're poor. All right. You got to understand, you got some poor folk that are poor and they play on poor, but you have some poor folk that are poor and they're very proud. So even with the training, you have to, and this is one thing Elder Kelly loved to do. He will reach a person where they are. He will figure out a person needs. He will befriend that person. And once that person warm up to them, then they will express, you know what, I just can't afford that. Or I don't. And that's where the genuine help will come in to a person, because they have let down that barrier, that wall of acceptance. And once they acceptance, then we could go in with all of the things. But some folks just don't want to be made fun of or look down upon. So we meet them where they are and befriend them and love them. Bam.
Yeah. And that's really a good segue to the first hot topic. I'm going to take, well, if you don't mind, Sean, I see your hand. Let me go ahead and read Milka's question first, and then we'll come to you and go into the hot topic. Do all of the churches have a poor and needy fund? And what about community outreach? What are their duties? Milka, wow, question of the day. So I don't know if anyone wants to handle that. Do all churches, I know all is going to make me say, no, not all, but do churches have a poor and needy fund? Sean, what do you want to say about that? And what do we call something that we've been trying to do at our church?
Yeah, so I can't speak for all churches. I know that in the Seventh-day Adventist denomination, most churches have a benevolent fund. And then there's also a department called the Community Service, Community Outreach Department. Now, what are their duties? Excellent question. If you look up in this manual, the duties will indicate that their job is to minister to the needs and service the needs of the community. We oftentimes see that in passing out food. I know our church passes out food on every other Thursday, and also many churches have a building or a section where they have clothes and other things of necessity for the poor and needy. That ties me in 2 points. But let me just jump back to what Jeff was saying. And he said that, many poor people are proud. And I was talking to a Seventh-day Adventist chaplain, and he said the most difficult people to visit in the hospital are those of the Adventist denomination. They don't want you to come to see them. They don't want people to see them in this predicament. And I think a lot of times, we in Adventists don't like to say, hey, listen, I'm poor. I need help. I need assistance, because we do have a sense of pride, and we want to how people are going to look at us if we say, hey, listen, can you help me with my light bill? Can you help me with my water bill? We're worried about, okay, they're going to look at me and say, ooh, what's wrong with that person? They're going to look down on me. And we don't want to have that. We don't want to have that stigma placed on us. But it's interesting how Christ, he causes us, he has a love for the poor. You understand? He identifies with the poor. He says, when you've done it to the least of these, you have done it unto me. So he's trying to tell us, not only should we help them, but don't be afraid to identify as one as well.
Sean, Dan has poor reception.
I was trying my best not to go, because I said, well, look, I was the least of these this morning with a t-shirt, but look who's hosting now. We're just going to wait for Dan to make it back in.
Oh, Dan, we got you. You have poor reception for the least of
again.
There he goes. In and out. Are we here?
I'm in Alabama.
Red roof. Are you in a red roof?
Hey, what are you going to say about Alabama?
I'm in Alabama.
No, this supposed to be a high internet. They're supposed to have a high internet.
But I do like Terry Park's question. And then, Dan, we're getting ready for the first hot topic, right? Terry Park said, whatever happened to the Dorcas Society? I remember that being a big deal based on the lady Dorcas mentioned in the Bible for her good deeds. And so, yeah, I think some churches, I know I've heard, especially those that would have a little bit more of a traditional format, still have a Dorcas Society. And then I've heard of the community service, you know, it's kind of become a community service society. And but I think everybody is saying, and I know where Pastor Gross had also said, oh, we collect a fund, a benevolent fund after communion. But I think what we're really all asking on here is, what are we doing as the church, right? So instead of just sitting back and having a concept of the poor, what are we doing? And I see Arnell Smalley, who's over our pantry, saying that, hey, come on down to Patmos Chapel on Thursdays. Help is needed. Volunteers are needed to pass out food at the pantry. And I'm telling you, if you come out, you'd be amazed to see the line of cars and the types of cars. And that's why I'm saying we have to be careful when we talk about poor, because you have some people living large and they are one paycheck away, or they are poor. Sometimes health happen, life happen. But anyway, Dan's not here to stop me. So let's go on to the the first topic.
You go, Stacey, you go.
While the cat's away. So we've heard about this earthquake that has happened over in Turkey, and that's also impacting Syria. And so the first current event we have is talking about this, and it's saying that the U.S. is assisting the earthquake victims in Syria, and that may make some political people feel very uncomfortable. And so, should we try to help them, as they have terrorist groups in that area hampering aid to get to the victims? So, should we really be trying to help them when they have terrorist groups, you know, in that area? And so the question is being asked, should we assist our enemies? So I want to just throw out to you guys a little bit to hear your thoughts on the issue. Let me start with Jeff. Jeff, what are your thoughts? And then I'm going to come to Teresa.
Okay, my thought is, yes, we should help. We should help. You're talking about the earthquake and 40,000 people that are still buried alive or buried or dead. Mm-hmm. Yes, the problem, God's going to take care of the rest of us, but our duty as human beings on this earth is to help. I don't care. The Lord's going to protect us from the terrorists or all that. We have to do our duty in a time of crisis. This is a time of crisis. This don't have to do with no religions. This have to do with a human being and human beings trying to save and try to protect and find other human beings. So all of that goes out the window, and let's do what our Christ-like and God-given duty is to help.
Teresa?
So regardless of what field I'm in, I'm still a teacher at heart. And when I thought about this story and just, you know, should we help, should we not help? It made me think of the fable of the lion and the mouse. I don't know if anyone knows that story. So there was a lion that got trapped in a hunter's net. And
I remember that story.
What is going on? What is happening?
Y'all making me miss Ivan today. That don't happen very often.
Oh my goodness. So again, for those that may not know the story of the lion and the mouse, the lion got caught in the hunter's net. And so a lot of people tried to come through, and, you know, a lot of different animals in the forest tried to help the lion out, but none of them could do it. Not the snake, not the fox, nobody. So here comes a little mouse that's coming along and is like, oh, the lion is trapped in this, you know, net. And the lion's like, okay, well, if you help me, I won't hurt you, kind of thing. So the mouse had two choices. He could have helped or he could not have helped, because generally speaking, yes, a lion would devour a mouse, especially based on history. So the mouse didn't really know if that lion would keep to its promise of not harming it. But still, beyond that, the mouse saw fit to help the lion, and he chewed through the little ropes and everything and helped free the lion. Some people in the forest might have looked at that lion like he was stupid, but at the end of the day, his mission was to help. And even though this lion was seen as its enemy, it still went and did its part to help him be free so that the lion wouldn't be devoured by its enemy, i.e. the hunter. So when I think about it, we could live in fear and say, oh, well, those are our enemies. But what does the Bible say about our enemies? To help those that love us. Yeah, that's great. But what about those that don't love us or those that don't help us? What does God say about that? Are we a lion or are we a mouse?
All right.
Wonderful.
And Sean?
Listen, I don't think I have anything to add to what Teresa said. That was profound and that was powerful. In Matthew 19:21, it says, Jesus answered, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possession and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. Stacy, I want to know from you, why would Christ demand of something from this guy that it appears that he could not do? You know, why is he asking him to sell all he has? I don't think he's ever asked. There's no other text in the Bible where he's asked anybody to sell all they have and follow him. Why did he put this awesome responsibility on the rich young ruler?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting when you really read the story about the rich young ruler, you're thinking, man, the Lord really jabbed him on that, you know, but was it really a jab, or was it really to awaken him? Right. Because he came kind of with his resume, right, of good deeds and all this stuff that he has done. And the Lord said, oh, very good. Very good. Now here, do this. You want to gain salvation and follow me? Go ahead and sell, you know, all that you have to the poor. Give, not sell, give all that you have to the poor. Then he had a struggle. All did? Right. Give, oh my gosh, all that you have to the poor. And then his heart shone in that moment because he paused and he went away sorrowful. He didn't say, okay, give me till tomorrow. Let me make that happen and I'll come follow you. You know, and we were taught in the previous lessons that, you know, where your heart is, you know, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. And so I don't know, when I read this story, I don't know if I can say, like, and judge his heart. Oh, he was always giving to be seen. You know, some people like to, you know, announce their good deeds for
or put it on TikTok,
you know, to be seen. But he came to the Lord kind of like, well, listen, I'm coming to him with my checklist. And unfortunately, that's what we do as Christians. Here's all the good stuff I've done. And the Lord is about the heart. And at the end of the day, it's about how you care for each other. You know, the vertical relationship with God is important, but so is the horizontal relationship, you know, between each other.
Beautiful. Jeff, you know, what is your response? You agree with Stacy?
Oh yeah, I agree with Stacy, and I just want to add, and I just want to piggyback off of Stacy. I should say, look, it was a status quo. He was a status quo. He already studied. He studied Jesus. He already knew what Jesus about. He knew what they said about. It was a status quo. If he could just get in that group and be a part and have his wealth and all that, and all of the other disciples like, yeah, dude, this guy over here got a little something. But the Lord, I'm so glad Jesus is God all by himself, because he knew that this man's heart was not right, that he would sell anything, but it was a status on his part that he would follow Lord and say, yeah, I have, almost like saying, I'm checking my bucket list. I'm with God. Yep. I'm with him too. I know him. I've been working with him. Yeah, we cool. No, but the Lord said, you're going to have to humble yourself, completely humble yourself. And by humbling yourself, give away what you have. That's right there. That's humble. And my man was not ready for that. But the status that he was looking for, and accepted from the other disciples. Yeah. So that's my take.
So Teresa, you were a teacher extraordinaire, and I have a lot of respect for teachers. I'm one of those that believe that, yes, teachers should be paid more. I do believe it. They educate the society. There is a second topic that Director Dan had on the, let's see if he pops in.
He'll pop in.
Had on his list, and it's a really
Pop goes the weasel goes pop.
Oh my goodness. Oh, mercy.
Okay, now
here is the second current event. And this is really, honestly, this is kind of serious and tasteless, but a teacher thought it was a good idea to have preschoolers get their faces painted for Black History Month in blackface, brown face, to for bringing out awareness to the issues that African Americans face. Well, it says here, was she just being tone deaf, one, or being insensitive and ignorant? And really, what long-term effect do you think that would have on children at that age? And that's kind of what I was wondering. So let me hear from you, Teresa.
I'm taking a deep breath with this one.
Come on with it.
I'm going to try to condense all of my thoughts, opinions, and knowledge into a short moment. Ignorance still lives because people are not taught a lot of things. I remember working at my school, and for a long time, I was like one of two Black instructors, and one was like an aide. The other one was an aide. And so as the years went on, we got, more Black or women of color as instructors, and we would have other, people. I've met a lot of people at my school. And I remember one woman coming up to me saying, "Oh my gosh, did you not see the comment from one of the Friends members that was talking about we need more shows like Friends, but that are like, the Black Friends or the Asian Friends or whatever." And she was like, "Don't you agree?" And she was looking for validation from me, like, "Hey, I'm a white girl who agrees that there should be a Black Friends. Don't you agree?" And I just said to her, "Have you heard of Living Single?" She's like, "Well, what's that?" Here's my thing, the what's that part. That still lives on because Black history, Black culture, though people like to piggyback off of it, the history and the real culture is not mainstream. So you have communities of people who are raising kids into communities of people who still have no clue about any Black history. So then you have someone who is saying, we don't need to teach this in school. Black History Month, Lord knows if it'll still be around in 20 years. We don't need this anymore. But when you stop teaching, then you continue on with the ignorance. So this could be a woman who grew up in a community where she didn't see not one Black person until she opened up her own daycare. This could be a woman who hadn't interacted with anyone from another color until she started working and had kids from different areas. And to live in that bubble for so long, even though it's 2023, yes, you're going to have a grown woman who still thinks painting little kids' faces brown is being a part of the culture because she has no clue about history other than her own.
Very nice. Jeff?
So, yeah.
All right, look, I got 2 points. Number one, to do a person like that, a young kid, is the same as sexual abuse. When a kid has been sexually abused, they'll never forget it. When you turn around there and put a Black face on a little kid, they will never forget what you did to them the rest of their life, just like being sexually abused. So yes, that was very unthoughtful because the things that's in our mind right now from slavery, from generation to generation, is still there. We still think about the house Negro and the field Negro. That's a part of us. So you put a Black face on us in today's society, it's just like us being sexually abused mentally.
Wow.
But they put it on the young white kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't on it. So for me, it's like for a little white kid, especially a preschool, for you to put Black face on them,
But I think he's saying kids don't really.
Same thing.
Yeah,
That
they
girl
don't.
will
They
never
don't
ever
make
forget
the
that.
connection.
Yeah,
They will never forget it.
I don't know what's going on this morning. I'm a little bit with Jeff on this, but Sean, you know, you're a dad, and
let me tell you one more point.
Go ahead.
One more point. Just this week in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the school is called Hillcrest High. They was having Black History program. The white administration told the kids, "Can you keep your history to the 70s and above? Can you do whatever you can? You do it to the 70s and above. Let's not worry about the 60s and back. You know, keep it to Beyonce and Jay-Z. Keep it to all of the ones up here. Don't go down." And they went off. The kids, they protest. They left class. They left and went outside, and they had a protest for a whole afternoon because of this. What the administration was telling them: please, just keep it to the 70s. Don't have to go back.
But that's the problem, which is why we're having more issues where people are doing things and not knowing it's racist. And people always want to ask, well, how do they not know it's racist? Well, if you haven't read The Invisible Backpack, that article, go out and read The Invisible Backpack. Because if I've never had to experience it and no one's ever shown me, and I'm not taking up for them because I feel like, come on, it's 2023. You haven't heard about this, because this is not the first time that an offense has been made that's racist. But when you live in a bubble, you just stay in your bubble. And when we try to stop teaching about back then, we're going to repeat the same things.
You know, it's kind of interesting. I love my young people, and I'm trying to tell people, these set of young people, they will light you up. They will protest. They will organize themselves. They will go onto social media and call you out. But yeah, so Sean, like we were saying, you being a parent and hearing about this, I mean, really, and I've got to say, we can't generalize, right? So it's not all of either side that's bad, right? So it was actually another parent who had seen the picture that the teacher posted online.
She felt proud. Like, look at what I did. I'm a part of the culture.
Posted the picture online, and another parent contacted the mom, who really brought it to light because she's in an interracial marriage, and so her kids are mixed, and she was appalled. So Sean, as a parent, what's your take on this? How would you feel?
Oh, I'm going to try. I'm not going to answer as a parent. Because that's not the right. That's not what Christ is at. As a parent, you're going to be upset. As a parent, you're going to go down to the school and say, "Where have you been? This is 2023. The internet is available to us all. We can just Google and see that, you know, that this is wrong. How did you miss that news clip? How did you miss that conversation?" So that's as a parent. As a Christian reading about the least of these, I have to look at it and say, okay, my initial reaction is ignorance. Like, I don't think she did this trying to be racist. She did it ignorantly, not understanding the history. And you get upset, like, how can you not understand the history? But I have to look at this as an opportunity. Like, okay, you say, Christ, give me peace, give me patience, give me your spirit, so I can, you know, preach to the poor and needy. Say, listen, there's a history of blackface in our culture that has a very racist background. Let me teach you about this. Let me educate you about this so that we do not repeat this behavior. What you need is education. What you need is understanding. Because that's how Christ deals with us. And let's be honest, even as Black folk, we don't know all our Black history. I was watching the show about Reconstruction last night, learning about how many Black senators, in not just in Congress, but in Florida we had during the Reconstruction period. A whole list of them I was seeing on Wikipedia, and I never heard of now one of them, right? Now one of these Black congressmen, I think we had more Black congressmen just in Florida during the 1870s, during the late 1860s, than we even have now. So, you know, I could be considered ignorant. There was names on there I've never heard of. So, You know, we tried to understand our culture, know more about our culture. I just learned about the Tulsa massacres within the last 2 years. You know, these things have been so.
I just found out who Claudette Colvin is. I didn't even know about her.
I don't even know who Claudette Colvin is. Look at me. I'm going to Google it right now. So in the mindset of God saying, the least of these, my brethren, I look at this situation and say, okay, it's time for her to be educated. It's time for everybody needs to be educated. There are things that I don't know that I should know about my history, about my culture. So let me do the same for her. You know, and then through that experience, through spending time with her, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Where did you learn all this stuff? So why don't you come to my church? We can teach you all about it. You know, it's an opportunity for ministry. It's an opportunity for ministry. So I'm not going to come as a parent because that's going to be all wrong.
All right, I got you. So we have fiery comments going on the chat here, and so Director Dan behind the scenes says, "Hey, take a look at some of these comments." Yes, sir. So we've got Donnell saying about Abbott Elementary, which is one of the shows that I really enjoy. It's very, very comedic, but he says this hits these topics like Black History Month. And yes, I've seen 1 or 2 episodes. It's been very interesting. Herb is saying history is all aspects and parts of the past. If we leave out even one part, history is not being taught. History teaches us how we got to where we are. That's right. That's right. And so I know that there's, oh yeah, thank you, Monique. I was going to say that I read that the teacher is Argentinian. I think she had a background of Hispanic culture. She thought it was appropriate. And I'm seeing where Monique is saying this is culturally appropriate where she's from. So very, very interesting.
Why we go back to
in America now.
But this is why we go.
Blackface has a bad history.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why we go back to training. Training is very important. And if you're going to do a culturally specific celebration, somebody from that culture needs to be a part of that planning.
Yeah.
Francois, for the
don't do it in America.
Yeah.
I
think she learned. They did move their kids out of the school. And of course there had to be some cleanup done and apologies
but originally the director didn't think that there was a problem. It wasn't until more because there was one parent that sent a message to the director and they were like, I don't know what the big deal is. It wasn't until she started getting more and more emails throughout the night that she's like, oh, I think we have a problem here.
What's that old saying? If you don't know, you better what?
Ask somebody.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, mercy. Dan's back.
If you don't know, you better stay online and quit going on.
That's right. So yes, and totally agree, Kenny.
Yes.
We know it is definitely inappropriate. And that's why I was saying, kind of like Jeff, even at that age, those kids weren't even thinking that way. And now they're probably going to have this, memory. So, Dan, did you want us to go into...
No. You're doing a good job, Stacey. I'm doing a good
job in my non-squad t-shirt. Are you acknowledging that? All right. Thank you.
I'm getting full off of some humble pie right now.
All right. So like this person, I wish I was a little taller. I guess I wish I had a t-shirt, but this is about Zacchaeus. So Sean, who was Zacchaeus? Who was Zach in the Bible? And why did God like him in spite of him being a tax collector?
Why the question about being a little bit taller has to come to me?
I know. Why you have to say that?
Yeah.
Where that from?
And then Dan is on.
Everyone here today is the least of these.
The shortest of these.
I think Jeff is shorter than me. The question's probably going to Jeff first.
Oh, mercy.
So, it's basically, who is Zacchaeus? I grew up singing the song. Jeff, you know the song. We grew up singing the song.
Talking about me. That's the question.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man.
Sing the song.
A wee little man was he.
Sit down.
He climbed up in a sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree. And what did he say, Jeff?
Zacchaeus, you come down.
Yes. Because why?
Because I'm going to your house today.
That's who Zacchaeus was when I was growing up. But Zacchaeus was a rich baller that people didn't like, right? He had a fancy car, he had the big house. That's who Zacchaeus was. And people was hating on Zacchaeus. His people was hating on him. All the Jews didn't like him. And Zacchaeus didn't care, like, whatever. I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid for it, as the young people say, and he could care less about what the other Jews thought about him, right? Until he learned about this guy named Jesus. Like, what? Jesus? He's Jewish, and he seems to hang out with people. In fact, he's got a disciple who's of the same profession as I am. Maybe this guy would hang out with me. I need to see this. I need to check out this guy because his religion is a little bit different than what I see around me. And so Jesus, he must have been stunned, because I know I'll be stunned if I'm looking for Jesus and then Jesus comes to me and I'm going to your house, right? And then I have to call the maids and say, maids, you better clean up because Jesus is coming. And then not only that, he's so moved. He says, I'm going to give half of what he has. So that means he's going to go to his 401k. He's got to go to his bank account. He may even have to go to a realtor and be like, we got to put my house up for sale and I have to downsize. So that's who Zacchaeus is. Zacchaeus is doing a lot. Zacchaeus is doing the most in this situation and giving half of all he has to the poor. So I'm big up to Zacchaeus. I don't even know. I know I may be the same height as Zacchaeus, but I don't know if I have that kind of principles to sell my house and give to the poor. So he's goals. He's #goals. That's who Zacchaeus is.
All right. And I think you were throwing it to Jeff next, not for any particular reason. Jeff, we're coming to you next.
Damn, we can't hear a word you're saying. We can't read lips today.
Song from the UK. He's asking for a t-shirt and mug. Go to Quad Squad at, what is it? Quad Squad 249@gmail.com and place your order, and we will be happy to send you a mug and t-shirt. Mr. Song, all the way from the UK.
And we thank you for a message from our
sponsors.
And he goes right out. Okay, so you're asking me the same question
about Zacchaeus and because the thing is that he was a tax collector, and back in even now,
yes,
he worked for the IRS. Okay, you understand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. Zacchaeus, the difference between the rich young ruler and Zacchaeus is that the rich young ruler, the Lord had to say, hey, take what you have and go sell it and then come and let's do it. Zacchaeus already did his homework. He studied. He was already convicted. He had a conviction already that this is what I'm going to do. And that's why the Lord was already pleased with Zacchaeus, because the Lord already, when he came to Zacchaeus already knew in his heart and his soul that what he need to do in order for him to even have this understanding, this love for Jesus. So this is what I love about Zacchaeus. Yes, he was a hustler. He took those people, but when they saw when the people saw the change in Zacchaeus' mindset and his order, and the Lord called him out on the tree, everybody was like, Jesus, what? Zacchaeus? And then when he did that, and Zacchaeus was already in his mind that I'm going to do this. Not the rich young ruler said, what you want me to do? The Lord had to say, go sell that. Zacchaeus already said, I got to do this because I know where I want to be. And that was with him.
Very good. Very nice. Love it. Love it. Love it. So while Sean starts preparing for parts of our wrap up, I'm going to come to you, Teresa. Can God trust us with wealth? And how can we use wealth that we already have?
God does trust us with wealth. Everything that we have, it belongs to him and it was given by him. So the fact that we even have it is because there's a level of trust that he has with us to have it in the first place. Now, when it comes to how we can better manage that wealth, everything that is in the Bible is a manual in every area of our life: education, marriage, family, life, politics. It's a big manual of just everything that we'll encounter or face. So when it comes to how can we better manage it, just going back to what he said to even do with it, checking your heart, because wherever your treasures lie, wherever your heart is, that's where your treasures lie, and vice versa. So whatever I'm putting my money in, sometimes we have to do renovations in our finances, renovations in our heart. Where am I using my wealth? And what does it say about me in that moment? So going back to what does the Bible say about our money? How do we use our money? Are we tithing? Are we giving to the poor? Are we, taking care of ourselves and our family? What are we doing with that wealth? Because he already trusts us with it. That's why we have it in the first place.
Very good. To whom much is given,
much is required.
Much is required.
Stacey, before we go to our closing thought, there was a conversation about Job and how wealthy Job was as well. And in terms of wealth, Stacey, I'll compare you to Job. You got a lawyer and a medical professional. So with all this great wealth, like Job had, how can we be perfect? Because God said Job was perfect in all his ways. Tell us least of these.
Y'all know I'm least. I was a teacher for a long time, okay?
How can we be perfect and wealthy like Job?
You know what? I really think the Bible, I'm going to tell you, the Bible is so true. The last shall be first. Because when y'all started, y'all had all kind of comments from me and my little abolitionist t-shirt, okay? But now, here I have to explain, Joe. Mr. Kenny, can you please help me out with this group this morning? But it's amazing when you go to the Word. I can't tell you that. But when you go to the Word, you see in the Word some things that Job did. We know he prayed for his family, prayed over his children, prayed for his friends. But parts of Job talks about works that he did. I helped the poor. I was there for the widow. Those in need, I was able to help. I also stood up for justice. I think he said at one point something like, and if I didn't understand a matter, I went and sought it out.
Yeah.
He was out there not only amassing wealth, but helping those in need. I don't know if y'all know Tyler Perry, but of course we do. Now, I'm here to tell you, I'm a mixed fan. I like some of his work, but I don't like all of his work. And I wish he would show us sometimes in more positive lights, but some of his work does, right? So I'm kind of mixed. But he was saying that, when he got his studio and his studio was a success, he figured it was going to impact the community around where his studio was located. So now taxes are going up. Now it's starting to, folks are starting to move in. They're starting to gentrify. And he just contributed over $2 million to seniors living around his studio so that they could keep their houses. And what did he say? He said, I'm not doing that to my legacy. Oh, no. He was looking out for the people of color, the people in need, the seniors that lived around where his studio was and took care of the taxes and whatever else was out there. They're now calling that responsible wealth so that they could stay where they are. So, sometimes when we think about wealth, we just think, if I win the Super Bowl lotto or something like that, the Powerball lotto, and I get my lump sum, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to pay off these cards and these cars, and I'm going to, this is all the stuff I'm going to do. But here was Job, who was out there helping those in need while going through. And so I remember the scripture, 1 Timothy, as the former Bible compliance officer, I just want to share this. 1 Timothy 6 17 to 19. I'm not going to read it all, but it's instructions to the rich from the Lord. Command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty or to trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God who gives richly all things. And it tells them, do good, be rich in good works as well. So it's not just about that fat bank account.
Yeah.
It's about the responsibility that comes with wealth. And that's really where politics struggles. Because you have a party, for example, that might believe that all persons can gain wealth. And when they do, then you trickle down to supply the need of those who are working for you. But nowadays, it doesn't trickle down. The heads get more bonuses. And the people suffer. They don't get benefits. They don't get taken care of who work for their companies. And so that's where you start running into issues, riches and greed issues.
Wow, that's fascinating. You guys did an excellent job. Seems like we're trying to land the plane. Seems like do you all have like a nice final thought you can give? Starting with Jeff. Oh, but before that, to Son's question, I don't understand it. The Samoas shifting their international date line, that caused a lot of problems. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll bring that back another day. I have some information on that. Yeah.
Pierre says, Pastor Pierre Francois, it never trickles down. There is no middle class. Ooh. So what are we? We have no class. No middle class.
No internet. You have no internet. We don't have no class.
Touche. So Jeff, starting with you, what's your final thought?
Okay, well, this is what he said. Job was wealthy. It said, and God used him as an example of a perfect person. How can we be perfect? That's the question that was asked for me. I'm sorry, I had to read the last one. You just came in. I don't know if you remember anything, but so what I want to go and say, how can we be perfect? Well, we can't. The only man that I know that was close to perfect was Elder Kelly on this earth. Okay? Elder Kelly was so close to perfect, but how can we be perfect? We can't be perfect, but what we can be is by God's grace and keeping him so first in our lives that he will guide us into perfection, but not perfect. Because we don't drive the speed limit. Somebody might say something else and we might hit them, we might say something. We could try for perfection, but we can't be perfect. But there is, as long as we got God and keep to his unwilling hand, we can actually strive for that.
Wow. Jeff is deep today.
I think it's the shirt.
No, it's he keep popping in and out. I got to take his spot.
Teresa.
So for my final thought, when you fail to plan to fail.
Mercy.
We need training. We need to be more prepared to serve. We need to prepare our people on how to help the least of these, how to identify the least of these. Some people don't even know when God is speaking to them or what spiritual discernment is. We need more training. In the comments, Nilka mentioned, study to show yourselves approved. That's study in a lot of different ways, because when we look at, the incident with blackface or how to help or when to help or how long to help, we need to take more time to plan. The Bible is a instrument. It's basically a training manual. How often are we in that manual? When do we check up? And if we want to solve some of the problems that we're having or to stop certain historical errors to keep repeating itself, we need to plan, we need to train, we need to be more invested in preparing ourselves so that we can be ready.
Don't get ready, stay ready. I like that. Sean.
Well, I'm gonna do something controversial again. I'm gonna disagree with Jeff a little bit, just a little bit, Matthew 19:21. God's telling the rich young ruler, if you want to be perfect, this is what you have to do. So I think what God is saying, listen, in order to be perfect, you have to be in me, because I am perfection. And I think that's what Jeff was saying. If you're outside of me, you can't make it. And so in order for the rich young ruler to be perfect, in order for the rich young ruler to be in Christ, he had to sell those things and follow Christ. And God is saying, he's telling us, he's telling Sean, if you want to be perfect, you've got to do the things that I did. You know, I remember there's a story about John the Baptist being in prison, and he's asking his disciples, you know, find out if this guy Jesus is really the Messiah, or are we to expect another? And Jesus answered his question by doing some works. He was healing the sick, he was feeding the hungry, he was clothing the naked, and those are the things that he's asking us to do, right? If you want to be perfect, follow me. Well, I can't do those things. There's some Trump supporters that I don't like. There's some people who have their kids put on blackface that get on my nerves. That's too much for me. God, I know it's too much for you, right? That's why I'm asking you to come in me. And the only way that you can do it is if you allow me to do it in you. If you allow my divinity to work forward in you. It's like, I'm going to give up myself. It may be money. I'm going to give up myself. It may be pride. I'm going to give up myself and allow God to lead me. So then people say, well, how are you able to do that? Well, it was nothing but the Jesus in me who led me to do those things that he was asking me to do.
Awesome. Stacy, your final thought.
Well, I just want to say that when we think of being poor, it's definitely not just wealth. Many are also poor in spirit, and need someone to come and encourage them. You know, there's somebody I know who is going through something right now health-wise. And, you know, just to hear that visits really pick their spirit up and get them, you know, in a better frame of mind to heal for a couple more days. We also have those that, you know, are poor spiritually wise, right? In the sense that they may not be in the word, they don't read the word, they may not believe the word, study the word, don't understand this great salvation, you know, message of love. And so we just need to, whatever we see poverty, whether in ourselves or someone else, we just need to be willing to help and support.
Wow, you know, you guys did an excellent, awesome job. Thanks, Stacy.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Jeff.
You guys were great.
Thanks,
Internet.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, chat disciples, digital
Thanks,
disciples.
Thanks, Pastor Groves. And Pastor
Groves.
Just keep going. This morning, it took a village this morning, Dan.
Yes. Wow. So anyway, we're going to. I'm going to play a song, but Sean, could you pray us? Give us the final prayer.
Yes. Dear Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to talk about the least of these, Lord. It allowed us to look at ourselves in a different way, because depending on the situation would depend on what side we are on the least of these. Lord, in many ways, in biblical knowledge and going to church, Lord, we have a great understanding and you've given us great privilege. But also, Lord, in loving our neighbor and being kind. And, you know, those are areas where we are the least and we need your help. As Jeff pointed out, Lord, we are not perfect, and there's no way for us to be perfect unless we have you living inside of us. And so, Lord, we are calling out today that anything that we need to do to be more like you, you give us the strength to do it. Lord, whatever it is that we need to put aside so that we can have you living fully in our lives, we are asking that you would give us the strength to do it, so that everything we say, everything we do will give glory to you. Bless us on this day of rest. Again, we pray for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. I want to thank everyone for tuning into the Quad Squad. You like this, like it on Facebook, share it on YouTube, spread the word to your friends and family, and we'll see you next time. And it's been a pleasure. and we'll see you again. So without further ado,
see y'all next year because it's probably less.
Yes. So I'm going to share right now this video of T. Marshall Kelly. So just
are you sure you're going to do it?
I think yes, I am. Yes, I am. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, lady, that was a great video. Amen.
Some want the crown, but they won't bear their cross. It takes everything to serve the Lord. Some want bright mansions, but they won't pay the cost. And it takes everything to serve the Lord. It takes your hands and your head and your heart. Yes, it takes your all. It takes everything to serve the Lord. It takes your time and your means and your prayers lest you fall. It takes everything to serve the Lord. Some wear his name while they still live in shame, but it takes everything to serve the Lord. They want to be seen, but they don't want to live clean. But it takes everything to serve the Lord. It takes your hands and your head and your heart. Yes, it takes your all. It takes full surrender to serve the Lord. It takes your time and your means and your prayers lest you fall. It takes everything, everything, child, to serve the Lord.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, yes, yes. Wow.
That's how you end the program. That's how you end it.
That's the way to do it.
Uh-huh.
Good comeback, man. Good comeback.
Yeah, good.
Ooh.